All right, I am back. Hopefully, we have overcome that sound issue that we had a short time ago that we had to end the live. I trust that you are hearing me clearly currently. All right. I hope that you are hearing me clearly. All right, I am here now. Are you hearing me clearly? Are you hearing me clearly? Are you hearing me clearly? I hope that you are hearing me clearly. Loud and clear. Loud and clear. You hearing me loud and clear? Loud and clear. Loud and clear. Currently. All right. Loud and clear. Loud and clear. Currently. All right. So, blessings and peace. Much better. All right. I figured out what the issue was that was causing the feedback, and I made the necessary adjustment. So, back to the point at hand, the CFPB, and I just want to go over this really because I'm gonna be doing some reading. I want to make sure that I go through this in a way that is very helpful. So the CFPB has made some changes, and the point that I want to make to us is to make it abundantly clear that what the CFPB did is to mute as much as possible the operation of credit repair companies. As I said in times past, that TSR was passed by the FTC to wipe out credit repair. The bureaus are on a mission. Every single thing that I have ever heard or read concerning the bureaus, they have never spoken positively regarding credit repair companies. Let me pull up here. I'm going to be looking down a bit because I'm reading some things I'll be reading from my phone to basically follow. So, the CFPB published this notice where it says consumer credit and consumer reporting complaint. And it says this consumer complaint portal is designed to help consumers, including resolve complaints against credit reporting agencies. Consistent with the law, a consumer must first dispute inaccurate or incomplete information on their credit report. With the credit reporting agency, premature submission slow down the system for those, in the most part, that need help and who have correctly followed the process. Have you submitted your dispute to a credit reporting agency more than 45 days ago? Or is your dispute with them no longer pending? If not, do not submit your complaint here at this time. This is here as a trap. The bureaus have been complaining for more than 20 years now from when the FTC oversee the complaint, because prior to the CFPB about 2004 and beyond, or even earlier, the FTC used to take complaints through mail and through phone calls. The bureaus have always had a problem with complaint being submitted and them being identified in that complaint. When we submit a complaint, the letter is not the issue. The bureau does not care about the letter. The bureau cares about the comment section of the complaint. That is where the weight lies. That is where the credit bureaus is not happy. That is what the credit bureaus do not like. But for the most part, most people who are submitting complaint believe that it's the dispute that carries the weight. Your dispute is not what carries the weight when you go through the CFPB. It's the complaint box that you check off and that you leave the information in. That is what carries the weight when you submit a dispute to the CFPB. The bureaus had a problem with this for more than a decade now. What you see that happened earlier this week is the result of CDIA, the industry overseer, or what you would call the guile for the bureaus. They represent the bureaus. They are the ones that look out for the bureau's interests. They have been trying for a while to mute the complaint system. The bureaus do not care about your letters. They care about what happens when you file a complaint. Because the complaints are taken in, they are aggregated, they have to report to Congress, and Congress use the complaint sometime to make regulations. The bureaus do not like that. The bureaus do not like that people can publicly go there, especially the media, and read the complaints and then make story around them. In 2023, the CFPB put out a report and allow us to know, because of the pressure that they have been applying to the bureaus, improvements were being made to how the bureaus were processing disputes. If you look between those years, you used to see star letters at a lower level, and you would get more responses out of the bureau during the last 3-4 years. What ended up happening since this administration has come to power? The credit bureaus understand that they basically have an ally. This administration and the agenda is against consumer, and it's more so supportive of business interests. Each administration has their own philosophy and their own agenda. CFPB have been gutted. They lay off a massive amount of employees for the CFPB. The CFPB basically withdraw over 60 consumer advisory opinion, both on the FDCPA, the FCRA, and other consumer regulation and statutes. The bureaus have been having a field day. If you pay attention, we are seeing more star letters than any other time that we have seen before, because the bureaus realize that they have a upper hand. What the bureaus are doing, the bureaus are behind of the changes that were made. And I am going to show you that this did not begin now. So when you come here and you read this, you have to click it to submit. And then you go on at the CFPB, it tell you credit and complaint. Then the CFPB gives you a list of things. It says when you must first dispute the complaint with the CRA. Then they went on to note, and I'm going to show you where this is coming from. Before submitting a complaint against a creditor or consumer reporting agency about inaccurate or incomplete information, this is on the Cfpb website. On your consumer report, you are required by law to first dispute the information directly with the credit or consumer reporting agency. You can learn more about how to submit a dispute. Right? To submit a complaint, you must attest the information you have provided is true to the best of your knowledge and belief. And if your complaint to a CRA concerning inaccurate or incomplete information that you have already submitted, your dispute to a CRA more than 45 days ago, and that your dispute with the CRA is no longer pending. So this is what they're saying. When you submit a dispute, you have to wait 45 days before you can submit a CFPB complaint. Now, under the FCRA, the maximum amount of time for a dispute to be processed is 45 days. But that 45 days is not required unless you submit additional information with your current dispute that you submit that is relevant. Under normal circumstances, the dispute should be processed within 30 days. So what the bureaus want is that you must wait 45 days and then you go back to the CFPB if your issue is not resolved. That is what they want to do. The bureaus don't want you to submit a dispute or a complaint to the CFPB unless you first go through them. The problem is that the bureaus is saying that not because they basically value the complaint process. They are saying that because they do not want you to put them under pressure. And I'm going to show you them saying this. So here they say further, if you submit a complaint to the CFPB against a creditor or CRA about inaccurate or incomplete information without first disputing directly with that company, they may not respond to your complaint. How will CFPB know this? And they are not implementing something where the bureau are give you the opportunity to follow up if they say, okay, the bureau is saying to us that the dispute is not submitted to them. Please provide us proof that you did submit it. You won't have that option. It will be what the bureau say to the CFPB will determine whether they shut out your complaint or not. So it's not the case where they are saying, we will verify with you whether or not the dispute was submitted before. Show us proof within 2 days, 3 days, or whatever, and then we determine. You will not have that option. It's just what the bureau say to them, they will lean towards. Next, CFPB will discontinue processing your complaint if the company alerts us that you did not first submit information with them directly. So this is one-sided. It is not the case that you have the option to show proof that you did submit it, because the bureaus are behind of this. Watch this. Do not submit unless your dispute with the CRA is no longer pending or 45 days has elapsed since you filed that dispute. Even if you have already submitted a dispute and can attest that the information you have provided is true to the best of your ability, do not submit a complaint to the CFPB inaccurate or incomplete information while the dispute with the relevant creditor or credit reporting agency remains active. Credit and consumer reporting agency are required to respond to dispute submitted to them within 30 to 45 days. By prematurely submitting your complaint here, you are impeding the system. That's not what it is about. It's not about impeding the system. I am going to show you later. It's about the bureaus do not want you to be complaining about them publicly. So they get in the CFPB ears, and the CFPB has sided with them against consumer and against credit bureaus. Then the next page, it says, I attest that the information I am providing is true to the best of my knowledge. If my complaint to the CRA concerning inaccurate or incomplete information, I have already submitted my dispute to the CRA, and either 45 days have elapsed. You know what the bureaus want, why this information is asked for here? You are making a statement that can be used against you. I am not saying you should go to the CFPB and lie, but the bureau is pushing for credit repair companies to be able to be prosecuted if they submit a dispute and do not identify themselves that they are the ones submitting the dispute. The bureaus want the IP address that you are using that is being collected when you submit a dispute to limit how much dispute you can submit from that IP address. So the bureaus do not care about solving the problems that exist while the regulations are in place. They are interested in silencing consumers and credit repair companies. Let me show you what the bureaus basically did. I'll show you what the bureaus are about over 5 years ago. Watch this. Watch this. Are you seeing my screen? Well, let me say, all right, let me expand this. Hold on. Let me remove this and let me give you a different one. The bureaus do not, this buckle is not, you might see this up here last week, but that's not where the problem lies. The bureaus basically have this buckle going on, not just last week, but they have this buckle going on over, let me see if this is the one that I want to show you. All right, give me a second and let this upload. Hold on. Let me go back. I want to make sure I'm showing you the correct one. All right, this is it. Watch this. You're gonna watch what the bureaus are doing here. Watch this. This is from 2012, right? This is from 2012. This is not recently. And you're gonna see what the bureaus have been concerned about and realize that what was there last week. I'm allowing this to load. Give me a second when it load up here. Give me a second and let this load up here. The bureaus do not care about just bad credit repair. The bureaus care about all credit repair companies and need to silence all credit repair companies. I am not sure why this is taking so long to load up here. Just give me a second. And you will see what CDIA, which is the representative group of the credit bureaus, what they have been pushing for and what they have been saying, and you will see how their arguments are one-sided. They do not care whether you are doing credit repair correct or not. What they care about is that they stop you from submitting dispute or removing data from credit reports. Once the data is accurate, for example, someone had a bad account, they don't want you to be able to remove that. Even if they cannot verify it, because they are not emphasizing the requirement of the law that the information must be verified. And once you are actually submitting information to delete data that was there before, that is negative, they see you as fraud. You will hear them say this, and you will see what is the art of their battle. Let me kill this and see if I get it upload, because I don't understand why this is taking this long to upload. Let me just re-enter it and see if it load up much faster. The viewers do not care. The viewers do not care about whether you are doing good credit repair or bad credit repair. The viewers care about not having any credit repair company doing any dispute against them. That's what the bureau cares about. They don't want you to be able to do any dispute against them. Let me go back and say if I pull up the document here. Let me see if it load up. All right, good. Watch this. Are you seeing my screen? Give me a 1 in the chat if you're seeing my screen good and well. Are you seeing my document? All right, good. Watch this. This is from 2012, right? This is when the Cfpb took over. This is the CDIA. There it is, Consumer Data Industry. They represent the bureaus. Look on the argument that they're making, right? Comment in response to notice of proposed policy statement and disclosure of consumer compliant data, right? Hear what they begin with and listen to them. On behalf of the members, let me see if are you seeing my screen well enough? All right, I think that's much bigger. On behalf of the members of the Consumer Data Industry Association, CDIA, they represent credit bureaus. We provide the following comment on the above caption notice of proposed policy statement. Thank you for this opportunity to provide input on the question of how complaints should be treated. You hear this? This is from 2012. And we are talking about 16 years. The extent to which complaints should be made public. You hear what the problem is? Made public. They do not want the complaint to be public. In June 2012, the CFPB finalized its plan for a credit card complaint. When the complaint originally came about, thank you for the ones in the chat. When complaint originally started, it was with credit card companies first, and then they brought about Consumer Reporting Agency. Watch the bureau's argument. In June 2012, the financial, notice the last line, complaint should, to the extent to which complaint should be made public. In June 2012, the CFPB finalized its plans for credit card complaint disclosure, initially published in the Federal Register in 2011. The Bureau is now proposing that the two-part complaint data disclosure system described in the policy statement be extended to cover, listen this now, complaint data about these and other products and services. CDIA as concerned about the complaint disclosure system, which we discussed below. Hear their argument at the outset. Publishing complaints will be harmful to honest, lawful companies, both small and large, which are serving their customers and complying with the law that regulate them. They are saying off the rip, we don't want you to publish the complaints. That is why when you go to court and sue them, they know that the public is not going to sue the court system. They know that the average person do not basically understand the law. So they have a problem with you being able to go there and see that there is complaint against them and what the natures of the complaints are. This is 2012 and it's going to become even more impressive. Just stay with me. Let us start by stating that CDIA does not question the merits of consumer submitting complaint. That's not true. They don't want that. Complaints to the Bureau are Bureau using these complaints as part of their dialogue with the companies they oversee. So you see what the complaint does? Notice this. The complaints help with oversight. And the oversight brings about regulation. They don't want that. That is why they want to limit the complaint, because last year, in 2024 coming in, you had almost 5 million complaints, an explosion. You see, in 2004 to 2007, when the FTC was overseeing complaint, it was 23,000 complaints. And now, we are 20 years in, it's 5 million. And it keeps going up. They have a problem with that. The bureaus and the Bureau using these complaints as part of their dialogue with companies they oversee. We also do not question the merits of the transmission of complaint. This is hypocrisy statement. This is just to make it sound like we are with the program. You're gonna see. Back to companies for second review. Why they are calling this second review? Because usually the Cfpb portal should be used as a follow-up. That's the original intent. When you file a complaint, if you don't get anywhere with the bureaus, you use the Cfpb and other government entities like your Attorney General office and all of that to go and apply pressure. They don't like that because that means regulation is possible. While the problems that are causing the complaint exist for decades, not yesterday, not 10 years, not 20 years, for decades. And I can tell you that because I have studied the industry. The bureaus have been biased against consumers and side with furnishers. The bureaus do not allow companies to neutrally process dispute. The bureaus, when you process dispute, sometimes go and change data on the inside. The average credit repair company do not know this. In the Cfpb complaint against the bureaus that it filed in January of 2025, they tell you that the bureaus go in and change data. So they are manipulating the dispute. I can tell you from what I know, the bureaus basically set up the furniture against you when you submit a dispute. The bureaus is not telling you that because the documents that these things are in is not easily accessible by the public, and that's where they want it to stay. Look what they say. Our members have always stood ready to ensure that the legitimate consumer concerns are resolved. We have been very encouraged by the statement made. Notice this, watch this. We have been very encouraged by the statement made by senior Cfpb officials regarding the approach the bureaus will take with regards to their oversight and understanding of various financial services market. For example, in November 2011, Rash Dade, Special Advisor to the Secretary of Treasury for Cfpb, ended his prepared remarks to Congress this way. Notice what they are saying now. We like what he says. Below you will see if they like what he says. I will conclude by explaining how this is the remarks. We'll approach every issue that we work on. First, we are committed to basing our judgment on research and data analysis. We will not shoot from the hip. We will not reason from ideology. We will not press a political agenda. Instead, we are going to be fact-based, pragmatic, and deliberative. And I am proud to say that we are building a team that is eminently capable of making good on that promise. We have hired top-notch regulators. So this is the CFPB saying we're going to be objective. Watch what the CDIA now move to say. However, it is our view that the publication of complaints, you hear this? What their problem is? That the publication of complaint works against the goal of ensuring judgments are based on facts. So they are saying, we want you to say all of that, but what we really want you to do is not publish the complaints. Are you hearing me? I don't want you to publish the complaint because it brings us under scrutiny. Reason, right? Research and data analysis. While, watch this now. While the deputy director date comment affirmed that the CFPB itself will put complaint into a proper context, the Bureau tries to publish complaints, mean that this balance, care, and context are lost due to, watch this, who is their problem? Due to what? Due to the approach media. The media and others will take. Remember, up here they are saying what they are doing here. Yes, I would advise you, Ridley, I would advise you to make sure you send in your power of attorney and you mail in your stuff, but you still apply pressure to the bureaus. You still apply pressure. We are not falling for the bureau's game. The bureau is gaming the system, and they want you to give up or they want to limit you. Just follow me here and you're going to see it. And I have more documents to show you. I'll show you them explicitly trying to silence credit repair companies. Watch this. Their fear is the approach the media. Not that the media will take to presenting the data. So they don't want you to have access to the complaint because the media will load it up. And they don't want that. And the abuse that they are committing and not processing dispute, they basically don't care to fix that. This is a poor outcome that does not serve hardworking employees who are cast in the shadow of possible guilt. Notice, my employees are going to be guilty, and I don't want that. Our consumers who may now avoid doing business with a company that has the very best offer in the market. They are about their bottom line. And the publication of the data and the volume of the data, they have a problem with that. Watch this. In looking over the media resulting from the publication of credit card complaint, which was the first set of complaint that you could have, we find examples that support our concern. You remember what they are saying? That the view is not based upon research and basis and facts. You remember this? So the CFPB argument is weak. Watch this here. You are going to say their conclusion is based upon data and facts. In watching over the media resulting from the publication of credit card complaint, we find that support our concern. Consider the opening sentence of a June 18, 2012 article published by the Wall Street Journal. Unverified complaints are now characterized as de facto dirty laundry. And while it wasn't the CFPB that characterized the complaint in this way, this type of coverage should give the Bureau a reason to reevaluate the merits of public disclosure of company-specific data. They don't want you to name the companies in it. They don't want it. I see they quote the Washington Post. Credit card lenders' dirty laundry is about to see the light of day. All these companies bank on is that the public not knowing what they are doing, instead of fixing the issues that cause the problem. Watch this. But watch this. They don't want their information to publish, but they are rooting to get credit repair company to publish their information. You're going to see in the next document that I'm going to show you. In another article published on June 19, the Chicago Tribune, following the court troubling Finding the code troubling because it appeared the CFPB itself is urging consumers to consider complaint as a final measure of a company's performance. So they are saying they have a problem with the CFPB encouraging consumer to utilize the complaint to apply pressure. They are having a problem with that. Let me show you what else they're going on with here. Watch this. Right? They come here. Watch this. Consumer can look at this data and can fairly draw a conclusion that if they engage in financial relationship with the company, this is what they can expect, said Scott Pluter, acting assistant director of the consumer of CFPB. The bureaus do not want this information to be out there. They don't want it. Then they quote another article from Reuters to support their position. Watch this. And they go back. I'm going to show you because I have another longer document. Let me show you how they end this. Watch this. Regarding, look at right here that I highlight. Regarding of whether or not the CFPB has the legal basis for releasing company-specific complaint, remember this right here. This is from 2012. They don't want the company-specific complaint to be available. That means they want you to leave out TransUnion name, they want you to leave out Equifax name, and they want you to leave out any one of their companies that they represent name. We urge the CFPB to revisit and change its decision. The complaint release system suggests that the complaint of the few are representative of the entire consumer experience. With individual companies, remember, several complaints about the same company, they are discrediting it and saying it shouldn't be used. But complaint by one newspaper company, they see that as not valid, right? They see that as not valid. Once the newspaper using the aggregate of the data to formulate an opinion, not valid. But you're going to see them, at my mind slip right a while ago, you're going to see them use one example to represent all credit repair company. Watch this. Let me read back this so you see what they're doing. Regardless of whether or not the CFPB has a legal basis for releasing company-specific complaint, we urge the CFPB to revisit and change its decision. The complaint release suggests that the complaint of a few are representative of the entire consumer experience in the individual company. It is our view that this type of media coverage is harmful to honest American businesses that put compliance with the law and customer service at the top of their priority. The release of suggestive non-scientific data does not advance any public policy or regulatory legal compliance objective. So they say, once you don't do it scientifically, you shouldn't take it as valid. Watch what they're going to do. For all the reasons discussed above, we urge the CFPB to reconsider this decision to release any company-specific complaint. Watch this, next thing that they need. Complaint system can be misused either intentionally or intentionally, which argues for a great care in the release of company-specific data. A study of the complaint produced by the Federal Trade Commission. Watch this. That statement is not based upon any scientific experience, but they are saying change your position because this might happen. They are not saying change it because we have scientific basis that it happened. They are saying change it without evidence. While when it come on to them, the experiences that people are putting there, they are saying don't pay it any mind. Don't publish it. Are you seeing this? If you're following me, give me a 1 in the chat if you're tracking what I'm putting down. Look at what they do here, right? They use this as an example to justify themselves. I'm going to skip that because I want you to see something else. Watch what they do here against in the following, right? You remember what was, let me show you this. You remember what we just saw in, you remember what we just saw in the CFPB notice that we read earlier to begin the live? Watch this. This is from 2012. Watch what they're asking. Based on these, in many cases, consumer contact the CRA about the same time they file a complaint. In these cases, by the time the CRA receive and review the complaint forwarded by the commission, it had, in the meantime, favorably resolved the dispute. This is when they were processing dispute. This is a study by the CFP, by the FTC. And while people were submitting dispute, they are submitted it both to the CFPB, to the FTC, sorry, and to the bureaus at the same time. The bureaus is using that to basically justify why they should allow consumers to go about it the way they're suggesting, right? CRA more than 45. Watch this now. I'm going to do this and then we close off at the end. And then I show you another document that led to the changes that we see. In the follow-up to this report, CDIA has visited with members, right? So what their members want. And while as the full report indicates, adjustments to the program were made subsequent to the report's issuance, the result remained very consistent with those cited above. In other words, complaints submitted about members to the FTC were often being submitted soon after the concurrent disputes. So they're saying people are submitting two disputes at the same time. One to them, one to the to the FTC, and they have been resolving them. That's the argument. If this pattern remains consistent, then the publication of complaint would clearly misrepresent what is really true. And that is that the consumer is not requesting a second look, but rather simply using the complaint intake process to double up on the dispute. You know what they are saying? To apply pressure. Consumers are using the FTC at the time when they were basically processing the complaint to apply pressure. They are saying here, we don't want that. The dispute consumer has concurrently submitted it to Consumer Reporting Agency. Watch this argument here now. They're gonna use one experience with a credit repair company to end up label the whole industry. While they were saying earlier in the paper that what consumers submitting over how many thousand disputes, you shouldn't use that to judge themselves and credit card company, but one company should be used to judge credit repair. Watch this. And let me show you that their real objective is to wipe out credit repair. This is from 2012. A partial explanation for what is seen in the FTC data is the fact that consumer reporting agencies face an ongoing problem. Okay? You're a problem to them. Notice how they basically classify credit repair. They don't say bad actors in the credit repair industry. Look at what they say. Fraudulent credit repair agencies. So if you believe that this is just about companies that are scamming in our space, it is not. Hear what the adjective fraudulent here represent. Listen to this. Fraudulent credit repair agency have a business model. So every credit repair company, not just a select few, have a business model built around the premise of seeking to have accurate predictive data deleted from consumer reports. Credit repair agencies are known to submit complaint to government agency, even as they also submit dispute to credit reporting companies. The quote from an October 2011 press release regarding a public investigation of credit repair operators is illustrative of the problem. Remember above, they just said we should use scientific collected data before we make judgment about what they are doing. But here they are using one company. You remember they discredit the Wall Street Journal. the Chicago Tribune, and Reuters for publishing articles based upon actual complaint that was made. They are saying here that you shouldn't do that with them, but with credit repair, one company speak for the entire industry, because notice what they say: business model built around. So hear this now. They're using the press release. This is a company that get into trouble in 2011. Watch this. The FTC alleges, notice, it's not concluded yet, alleges, but it is representative of the industry. Alleges that the defendant made false statement to credit bureaus, disputing the accuracy of negative information in consumer reports, credit reports. In letters to credit bureaus, which RMCN did not show to consumers. The firm typically disputes all negative information in credit reports, regardless of the information accuracy. RMCN continue to send these deceptive dispute letters to credit bureaus even after receiving detailed billing histories, verifying the accuracy of the information, or signed contract from creditors proving the validity of the account. The complaint alleges that RMCN misrepresented to consumers that federal law allowed the company to dispute accurate report information, and that credit bureaus must remove information from credit reports unless they can prove it is accurate. What is the company saying there? On the one hand, depending on how the company classify this, it is true. And on the other hand, it can also be deceptive, because under the FCRA, even if the information is true, once it cannot be verified, the law says it must be deleted. It's not us that make that up. It's Congress who said that. So even if the information was once accurate, if it cannot be verified or substantiated, it must be deleted. But they are using only the ones that was able to be substantiated to buttress their argument, and not speaking into information that cannot be verified and no effort is put out to verify. In the company's word, credit bureaus must prove it or remove it, right? RMCN charge a retainer fee of up to $2,000. This is illegal. This right here that they're doing is illegal. You cannot take upfront fee. You cannot. Before providing any service, and falsely told consumers that Texas law allows credit repair organizations that are registered and bonded to charge advance fee. That is a lie, because that goes against CRUA, that goes against TSI, and that goes against every state consumer Credit Repair Organization Act. Right? Listen what they say. We believe these FTC data are compelling. One case, and it's compelling a representative of all credit repair companies, and thousands of complaints against credit bureaus is not representative. Watch this. And demonstrate the problem associated with providing public data about consumer reporting agency, given that the Cfpb has not laid out specific plan to distinguish complaint category. So they don't want you to publish anything about credit bureaus. Here their final paragraph. Watch this. Complaint system can be subject to hacking. Remember, they are the ones that have been hacked over and over throughout the years. And they don't say because they are hacked, and they are the ones that have been giving up consumer information for years and decades prior to the FCRA. They have been doing this. And they are saying because the potential exists and the government, who have all the capabilities to protect the data, they are saying because that exists, you shouldn't make the complaint. Basically, goes public. Here the conclusion. What's the conclusion, this sentence? We encourage the Bureau to consider CDIA's concern, and for the reasons stated above, we hope the Bureau will not extend the credit card complaint data disclosure system to cover credit reporting agency. Consumer reporting because at this time it was only credit card complaint was there. From 2012 they have been trying to stop the publication of the data. Are you following me? Let me show you what they did earlier this year that led to this the changes that we have now at the the CFPB. This is what they did. Watch this. Give me a second here. Let me just adjust back my screen. Let me get a one in the chat if you're following me. Let me minimize my screen. Not that. Wrong. So their objective is to get the credit bureaus, the consumer report, the CFPB, to not publish the data. All right? Watch this now. Look at what they basically did. Look at what they did earlier in the Thank you, Ridley. Thank you. Here is the bombshell. Here is the bombshell. All right, let this load. This is 2026, and this is what led. So that is 2012 that I show you. That is over. We are talking about. This is from 2012, right? That what I just showed you. That's from 2012. Watch this. I want to make this bigger so you can hold on. I want to make this bigger. For some reason I'm not getting this to get bigger. Are you seeing my screen? Or it's too small? Give me a 2 in the chat if it's too small. All right. All right, this is from January. Right? This is from January 2000 January 2026. All right, this is what they. All right, hold on. Let me see if I get it bigger. Nah, not good. Not good. Let me see if I can adjust it. Nah. Don't want that layout. I think I prefer this layout. This one. Yeah. All right, hold on. Let me just redo it and see if I can get it to go bigger. Alright, for some reason, this is giving me a headache resizing it. It's giving me a headache. Hopefully you can follow me. Alright, hold on. Alright, this is much better. Much better now, Ridley. Give me a one. Nice and beautiful now. Alright, watch this. This is what led to the CFPB changes. Remember I told you that I just showed you 2012 that they did not want it to be published. What the CDIA, right? Watch this. So the CFPB put out an ask that they basically submit complaints to them. Not complaints, sorry, comment to them about the system because they have been applying pressure behind the scene. Job, good to see you. Watch this now. Consumer response intake form, right? Watch what they are telling the CFPB now. To whom it may concern, the CDIA submit this complaint letter in response to the notice and request or comment of the CFPB, Consumer Response Intake Form. For more than a decade, CDIA has been urging the Bureau to implement its complaint intake form consistent with the plain language of the Dodd-Frank Act and ensure that information received in the complaint portal is accurate and help the Bureau carry out its statutory duty. Recently, the Bureau invited, right? The Bureau invited comment on, among other things, whether collection of complaint information is necessary for the proper performance of the function of the CFPB and ways to enhance the quality, utility, and clarity of the information to be collected. We hope that the Bureau will use the comments submitted in response to the PRA notice to make improvement to the complaint collection as well as how complaints are processed. So they have a problem with the complaint system. Watch this. Complaint collection is designed to facilitate regulatory activity. You remember I said that when you submit a complaint through the CFPB, the weight of your complaint is not in your letter. The weight of your complaint is in the comment section that will be published. That is what the CFPB publishes annually and have to report to Congress, and the public have access to that. The bureaus have a problem with that. And since it has exploded in over 5,000 complaints, including TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax, they don't want that. They don't want the media to be able to go there and publish it. Watch what they are saying. In 2011 and 12, the Bureau decided to publish substantial amount of information about complaints it received, including the identity. Notice the problem here? Including the identity of the entity that was the subject of the complaint and consumer narratives about the interaction with the firm. But the statutory authorization for the Bureau to collect complaints does not envision publication of this data. The same thing they have been trying to do from 2012. They don't want it to be published, and notice how they word it. Consumer narratives. It sounds straightforward, but it is very condescending. Notice here the subject of the complaint. They don't want you to name the company. They want the company part to be blanked out, even if it's gonna be because so you don't know which company is behaving bad. The bureaus have been sending out star letter like crazy from the year begin for legitimate complaint with legitimate inaccurate information. Hear what they said. Instead, the statute authorizes the Bureau to share data related to complaints in only a handful of specifically delineated situations. First, the Bureau is required to prepare a report for Congress each year. This is their problem. Once it will be given to Congress, regulation is a problem. To Congress each year included information analysis about the complaint numbers. You see this? Complaint types and whether applicable information about resolution of complaint. Second, in order to facilitate a supervision of enforcement activity and monitoring the market for consumer financial products and services, the Bureau is required to share complaint information with prudential bank regulators like the FTC and OCC and others, right? Federal Trade Commission and other federal agencies and state agency, Attorney General Office. You see. Third, complaints are to be shared with depository institutions subject to the Bureau supervisory authority so that they can provide information about the consumer complaint. The bureaus want to control what you can do. This is what I am talking about when I say that the system, if you don't understand the system, you are not going to be able to effectively see what your consumers that you're helping is going through. This, we saw Cfpb make a move and believe it was neutral. It's not. And it's not just about bad actors. It's about every credit repair company. I showed you that they didn't make a distinction in 2012. The statute does not authorize, notice this, the statute does not authorize the Bureau to publish complaint information wholesale. They have a problem with the data being published. Given the careful discussion of what the Bureau must do with complaint and why the Bureau is collecting them, it is clear that Congress affirmatively withheld from the Bureau the authority to publish complaint data. The statute specifically defines Bureau function regards to complaint as collecting, investigating, and responding them. Noticeably absent from this list is any authority to publish the content. They don't want the content to be published. Are you following me? Give me a fire in the chat if you're following me and seeing what is going on behind the scene and see what I am saying when I tell you that the system that you are going up against, if you don't understand it, you are not going to be able to do effective work. You will see smoke screens and believe that the smoke screens are actually what is going on. It is not neutral. It is not. Nobody is hearing from credit repair company because we don't have any representative. So the bureaus get to speak to the government directly. We don't have any representative and they cast us in a light. I see in documents, credit repair bureaus are basically saying credit repair companies are making millions. And they're saying it in a hateful way. They're pocket watching. This is what I mean. Thank you. Thank you for the fires. Thank you. This is what I am saying when I say you have to understand the system. And when I teach, I don't just teach dispute. You have to understand the system you're going up against. And everyone everywhere is publishing this. And publishing, oh, the scammers. It's not about just scammers. The bureaus do not want you to see what they are doing and what people is experiencing with them, and the CFPB capitulated to them. The statute does not, you see they are rebuking the CFPB. The statute specifically defines bureau function. Noticeably absent from this list is the authority to publish the content of the complaint. That is what they have been saying from 2012. And the response is there unto. So they don't want you to see how they deal with the situation. Watch this. Watch what they want. Complaints are intended to inform market monitoring activity and inform whether the bureaus have reasonable cause to designate a non-depository covered person for supervision. The statute view complaint collection as a tool You hear this? In aid of market monitoring, supervision, and enforcement, it does not have the Bureau collect complaints so that it can be sought of a Yelp. You hear this outer order statement? That it can be a sort of Yelp for financial services. You remember what they were saying in the document that we just covered in 2012? That people will make decision whether they want to do business with the banks or not. See, they come back with the same argument here, but now they're using the word Yelp because you use Yelp to basically determine who you want to do business with. So they now come back and say, when you publish the complaint, we can't have that because people is going to know that we are doing dirty business and we don't want that. Which is what the complaint portal has become. You see, they have a problem with it. When considering changes to the consumer intake form, the Bureau should hew more closely to its statutory authority and cease publishing data relating to individual consumer complaint. So what they don't want, what they are saying here, they don't want every complaint that we submit, it is published. They don't want that. Because if they do that, it's more data. And you remember in the 2012 letter that we read, this letter was actually about data aggregating, and if you have more data, that will allow you to make a better decision. When it comes on to them, more data they don't want that. But when it comes on to regulation, when it comes on to consumer, less data is better. But when it comes on to them, you should have more data except what is true in order to make regulation. Let me phrase it a different way. When it comes on to them, they are saying don't regulate us unless you have data. And then on the other hand, they're coming back and says you are putting out too much data. So what they are giving with one and they're taking it back. And they don't want individual consumer complaints. They don't want that. The Bureau can improve the complaint portal intake process. Look what they want. Look what they want now. Since at least 2015, CDIA has identified to the Bureau a number of issues with the complaint portal. When, remember I showed you in 2012, this is 2015, they circled back. So what we see last week is not something that come out of nowhere. They have been applying pressure and the Cfpb capitulated to the credit bureaus. Listen what they want the changes to be. The complaint portal allows consumers to submit dispute about accurate and completeness of information and consumer report as complaint and raise other issues such as block requests, even though those issues are handled under the requirement established by the FCRA. Complaints are often misattributed to CRAs where the complaint of conduct relates to another party in the consumer reporting ecosystem, often the furnisher of the data. And complaints submitted by, look at the word again that they use to describe credit repair companies. Notice that they are not making a distinction between good credit repair company and bad. So all of those who believe what happened is about only the bad actors and don't realize that it is an axe that is set up to chop down the entire industry is missing it. Remember I showed you in 2012 how they refer to credit repair? Look on how they refer to credit repair companies. Complaints submitted by what? Fraudulent. Credit repair organizations are flagged, are segregated. The Bureau should take additional steps to ensure that only legitimate complaints are accepted by the complaint portal in the first instance. Specifically, the Bureau could help restrict. You hear this? Listen, man. Give me some things in the chat. Give me some things in the chat. Let me say if you're picking up what these boys behind the scene are doing. And when I tell you about the system, you think that I am joking. When you see me put out posts and tell you about the system. When you are doing credit repair Understand that you are on a mission and prepare yourself accordingly. This is not just about money. This is a mission and you must think about it that way. And arm yourself with the right information to challenge this. They see credit repair companies as their enemies. Listen what they say. Specifically, the Bureau could help to what? Could help to what? Restrict. Watch this, which is what they did. Improper use of the complaint portal by implementing a number of relatively low-cost technical reforms. Why they themselves are not implementing the things to make sure that people credit report are accurate. They don't basically process certain complaints. They don't process certain disputes. But they are telling the government that they should make changes while they are not making any. Listen what they want to happen. Watch this. Place a permanent notice at the beginning of the complaint protest, making it clear. What did we see? Go to Cfpb complaint notice and see what you see there. That is exactly what the Cfpb did last week. Earlier this week, last week into this week, they put a notice there. They did exactly what the Bureau said they wanted. Place a prominent notice at the beginning, which is what they did, making it clear to the consumer that complaint specific as they relate to credit reports. You notice they throw the credit card outside now, and this is not about credit card anymore. Specifically as they relate to credit reports, and credit reporting agencies should only be submitted if the consumer has already contacted the service provider and not receive a satisfactory resolution, which is exactly what the Cfpb did. Or the consumer believe that the service provider has not comply with its legal obligation. Exactly what the Cfpb did. To third parties that if they are submitting, notice now, third parties, which is consumer, which is us, credit repair companies, to third parties that if they are submitting a complaint on behalf of another person, they must have legal authority to do so. We do have legal authorities because we actually have contracts and authorization in the contracts. And that knowingly, notice what they want. Watch this now. And you will see how diabolical the bureaus are. Watch this. You think that this was about good or bad credit repair? Watch the diabolical bureaus. Put diabolical in the chat for me, please. Diabolical. Put diabolical in the chat before I read this sentence. Put diabolical in the chat. Watch the diabolical move of the bureaus. Let me read back the top and give you time to put diabolical in there. Watch this. To third parties that if they are submitting a complaint on behalf of another person, they must have legal authority. Yes, that is true. Every credit repair company must have a contract that authorizes them. Watch this. And that knowingly providing incorrect information to a government agency can be prosecuted criminally. Are you hearing this? And that this includes impersonating another. Monitor. You hear what they want? You hear the argument that they're using. Watch this. This is the next changes that they want. Monitor or restrict IP address. That means when you use the Cfpb portal, they want to restrict what you can do once your IP address is detected. That means even if you have companies, watch this now, if you have clients, and you have a lot of clients that have real inaccuracies in there, this changes, even if the inaccuracies are legitimate, would restrict you from submitting them. So it's not about legitimacy anymore, but it's about restriction altogether. And it's being disguised as if it is about legitimacy. Watch this. Monitor and restrict the IP address used to access the portal. So they want the government to collect your IP address and monitor it. So that when you go there to submit, they can end up block you. And submit complaint. Look, notice what they say. And submit complaint to block bots and credit repair. Notice this again. They are not making a distinction anymore. Block bots and credit repair organization from submitting complaint on behalf of multiple consumers. Are you seeing the game? Are they making a distinction here between good credit repair and bad credit repair? All of those who are online running out the gate. Oh, my God. They are going to get rid of the scammers. They are going to get... It's not about that. You are just looking on the surface and thinking about yourself. This is not about that. This is about us understanding how the system works. And understand that the system is against all of us. Once you are trying to get rid of the data, they want to restrict. This is what they are suggesting for credit repair organization from submitting complaint on behalf of multiple consumers. So they are not saying whether the consumers are legitimate, They are not saying, okay, if the dispute is legitimate, so they are said from multiple consumers because they need to restrict the numbers. For organizations that have a legitimate and appropriate need to submit complaint on behalf of multiple consumers, the Bureau could create a registration. So they want you to register with the CFPB that would override any IP address restriction the Bureau chooses to put in place. So they are saying, all right, we want to make it where the companies have to put themselves out there. So what we want them to do is to register while they want their information to be blocked. Are you seeing this? They want their information to be blocked, but you must register. Here is what they want to implement next. Implement two-factor authentication by means of a phone number and restrict the volume. They're making it clear of complaint that can be associated with any given phone number. So they want it that even if you are using a phone number, it restricts how much you can submit. All of this is to minimize the data that is being collected, even though 2012 they were saying they are interested in data, but not when it comes on to them. If a consumer complains that a CRA did not fulfill its legal obligation regard to a previously submitted FCR request, but there was in fact no prior interaction, allow the CRA, notice this, they are not saying the consumer should also submit proof, Notice they are not saying the consumer should submit proof. They are saying allow the CRA to provide an administrative response that the consumer never file a FCRA request in the first place and remove the complaint from the aggregate total as not legitimate complaint. The consumer is not getting a chance here if the credit bureau is telling a lie. If the credit bureau is telling a lie, the consumer is not getting a chance to provide data to substantiate that the bureau is lying. They are asking that they get the chance to say that the consumer is lying. But you must not tell that they are lying. Tracy and Ridley, this is what I do. And this is what I am about, teaching the CROs who really want to learn what the system is doing so they operate with a mission. And not just out here trying to do the next thing, but understand that they have a mission to defend the consumers that are oppressed by the system. Watch what they want. If a consumer complaint that a CRA did not, okay, let me go to the next line. As long-term solution, the Bureau could create an API to allow CRAs to validate that the consumer had previously submitted a FCRA request before the complaint can be submitted. You hear this? They are saying the Bureau should create a portal that they can basically go there and weed out the dispute before it even come through. But they are not saying the Bureau should get access to how they are processing the data inside to check if they are doing it the right way, if they are compliant with the FCRA. They are not telling the Bureau that they should do that. So here what you do. You know what the Cfpb should do? Let every dispute that is filed and the response to it go through them. And that would solve the problem. But they don't want that. They want to have more control. Listen what they are saying. Require third parties submitting a complaint on behalf of another to identify the relationship to the other person, such as family member or attorney. Right? But you must not know their name. You must not know their name, but they must know you and what you're about. Require more identification from consumer. You remember in 2012 they are saying that they shouldn't collect the data because it can be hacked. You remember they were saying that? In their first argument, look at what they are saying. Require more identification from consumers and third party who submit complaints such as address, date of birth, and other demographic information from consumer and business name and business address for submitting complaint on behalf of another consumer. So they want you to give up more data while they give up less. These proposed steps plus others that the Bureau might identify during the review process will help to ensure that only legitimate complaints are submitted through the complaint portal. Watch this. This in turn will help the Bureau and consumer reporting agencies alike to focus their attention on areas where consumers have been ill-served by potential failure to comply with illegal requirements. CDIA thanks the Bureau for the opportunity to comment. And this is an important issue, and we are happy to provide any additional information that the Bureau requests. Thank you. This is what led to the changes that you saw. This is what led to it. This is what led to it. So when you see it out there, here is the letter from 2012. Right? This is another letter from 2012. And look what they were saying again in 2012. Remember we read the one before? Watch this. Listen what they are saying. The Consumer Data Industry Association submit this letter on behalf of its members, which are credit bureaus, and express concern about the Cfpb plan to put into operation on October 12 an intake portal. This is a different letter from the one that I read to you now. The consumer portal regarding consumer reporting agency has some of our members discussing meaning with the senior Cfpb officials so they have access to the government. We don't. And questions remain about the Cfpb authority to impose certain obligation. And CRAs that do what? That do what? That give them what? Legal exposure that the program could create for CRA. They don't want you to be able to sue them. And the ability of the CRA in such short period of time to implement many new policies and procedures that will need to comply with most impartially through it is not the best in the best interest of the consumer. All right? Watch this. CDI members look forward to hearing from consumers and meeting their needs. However, the Cfpb lacks the authority to require credit bureaus to report to it on their response to individual consumer complaint. You see this? They don't want individual complaint, as I showed you earlier in another document, to be able to be there. They don't want it. Let me jump on. Look at what they basically have to say here. The Bureau must undertake reasonable procedures in taking respect to the complaint and follow-up plan of action. Any response the Bureau has received from the entity which the complaint relates. Certain covered persons, specifically large depository institutions. So they're basically complaining. Let me jump down here. The CRAs, watch this. The CRAs will not have sufficient time to implement the changes, right, necessary to comply with this program, which they're going to request that in December they want to circle back. Watch this. Let me show you. Watch this. The intake, these are the complaints that they're lodging. The intake portal may not provide the information CRAs need to authenticate consumer identities and process their complaint. They are not saying provide that to us so we can do it now. They are saying get rid of this and don't do this because you don't have this. They are complaining about the time limit down there. Let me jump over and show you. The security protection of consumer information provided through the portal yet demonstrate. Our members report that as of the date of this letter, sufficient. All right, let me give you the bomb. Let me not draw you. Let me give you the bomb. Look on this last one. Look here. What is this again? This is 3 different documents I'm showing you over the last 15 years. The portal does not adequately protect against who? Does not protect against who? Fraudulent credit repair. You notice every time they are referring to credit repair, they call us fraud. Credit repair scams, especially those that involve challenging negative, accurate information through the dispute process, are ubiquitous. All right, meaning they're all over the place. Our members report that the Cfpb portal does not effectively protect against misuse of the system by credit repair operation because it does not attempt to limit submission. This is from 2012. Limit submission of complaint of third-party credit repair firms. So this is not just about bad actors. This is about every credit repair firm. And they lump all of us together as fraudulent and disguise as the consumer. By way of background, our members' experience with the FTC and its operation under the FCRA Section 611 complaint referral system was suggestive of credit repair operators gaming the system and putting accurate predictive data at risk. So you see they're saying don't allow credit repair companies to be able to delete information so consumer can get a second chance. This is what this is about. And the publication of the data. 2 reasons why this is going on. They want to limit credit repair companies because they know the average consumer do not know their right. And they want to stop the data from being published. And they want to stop the amount of data that is being published. That is what this is about. Here how they close off. First look complaint. Our members agree that the Cfpb policy position that consumers should exercise their dispute right under the FCRA before they then turn to the Cfpb portal to submit complaint. However, the current design of the system will not be effective in preventing consumers from filing these. First look, which is what the Cfpb restricted this week. Conclusion. Let me let you see the conclusion. We appreciate the efforts of the CFPB team in standing up the system as quick stand up a system as quickly as possible in order to ensure consumer means of submitting complaint. We also appreciate the CFPB pushing back the date as which the intake system will be live from October in light of the concerns that are still outstanding. And that's basically what they have going on here. So what is going on is not about bad actors. Okay? This is not about bad actors. This is about getting rid of credit repair companies from basically doing what they're doing. That's what this is about. Are you hearing me? So when you see this being put out and we believe that, wow, this is about credit repair companies and this is about getting the system to operate correctly, it's not about that. The bureaus do not want us to be able to publish data. That's what this is about. They don't want us to be able to publish data. And the restrictions that was implemented, you asked a question, Tracy. So what can we do? How can they do that? How can they tell the CFPB what to do? So the CFPB and the banks, right? CFPB and the banks and credit bureaus work together. And debt collectors. This is what I talk about when I say I teach you the system. These are the things that I teach you. I show you how they work together. The furnisher works together with the credit bureau. When you submit a dispute to the furnisher, your dispute is not being processed neutrally. The credit bureaus have a hand in it. My students in the university know this because they see the documents. They see it. So those who are out here and believe that this is neutral, you are not going up against something neutral. And credit repair companies, because we are not united and we don't have any centralized leadership, we don't get a seat at the table. We are pushed aside. And we are treated as if you notice in every document, they call us fraud. They call us fraud. So those who are celebrating this and believing that this is about bad actors in the system only, we are seriously mistaken. Ridley, it's getting harder because the bureaus are abusing their power. And you have to understand how to challenge the bureaus and deal with the bureaus. And that is why people have to become serious to enforce the violations against the bureau. Because those are the only things that get them to change. And class action lawsuits. They are not about it. So this is why we have to understand the system that we are going up against. So when you understand something like this now, you know what you are doing when you are going up against them. And you know how to navigate it. You know how to navigate it. That is why I said learning the laws alone without understanding the system sometimes will not get you as much deletions as you can get. Because you have to understand what they're doing, because they are sitting in silence in the background now and you are thinking that the CFPB did this. And not knowing that the bureaus are the architect behind of this. And remember, some of what I just show you is not implemented yet. And pray that under this administration they don't come with those things. Even though we can dispute from the mail and through Attorney General offices and other portals, but you gotta arm yourself and know how to expose the bureaus and take it to them. Any other question? Any other question in the chat? If you have any question, I will take your question and then I wrap up. I thank you for your time, and I hope that what I covered was helpful to you and kind of open your eye. What I want to help you to understand is that not everything you see in the public square is as it appears. Not everything that you see in the public square is as it appears. People sometimes, because we have so much people doing illegal stuff in the industry, we are quick once certain changes are made to believe that, yeah, it's they that are causing it. No. When the bureaus were pushing to get the changes that they got last week, we never had as many credit repair companies that we have now. We never did. We never had as many credit repair companies, right? We never had as much complaint as we have now. No one was abusing it then, but the bureaus outrightly say that we are scammers. And that from day one, remember this was implemented in 2012, and I'm showing you multiple documents from that time how they were pushing back from there and from that time. So just arm yourself with knowledge, because we don't have the money to fight them. And eventually down the road, credit repair have to have some form of legal representation as an industry that get them at the tables to mitigate some of this language, inflammatory language about what we do. Notice the Bureau do not care about whether the data is bad for the consumer. They care about you not getting rid of that data. So they want to have it where once you made a mistake in your life, so even if you went through a bad time in your life, where you had some hard time, you lose a job or something, and that basically allow you not to be able to pay your bills for a time, or you have something that caused you, they want to hold that data against you and said, you know what, it's accurate, you shouldn't get a second chance, it should stay there for the 7 years, and you must not get anything in the credit system, and you must not get by. We should be able to hold that data, whether it can be verified or not, and basically use it against you. You notice they don't mention nothing about whether the info can be verified or not. They don't care about that. They want to keep it there because the more information they have is the more they can sell. No more questions? You don't have any more questions? I'm going to wrap it up here. I trust that this information was helpful to you. This is what we do when I tell you we study the system. We don't just teach the law or study the law. We study the system so you know what you are going up against and who you are going up against when you are going up against them. That's what I teach you, and that's what we go about. And that is why when I see this, I couldn't let it slide, because people are not getting the information that they need to get as credit repair company. They're not getting the information. So anything that they see people that we look up to put out, or people that we believe is doing it right, we run with it. But it's not like that. There is a system that is operating, and this is just a small percentage of what they do. This is what I basically cover in my books and show you what they're doing, especially the last of the books that I cover. I'm showing you what they're doing and how to navigate it, because these boys are not playing. They're not playing. This is what I teach, the system and how to navigate them. So thank you for your time. I can't believe it's this late. It's almost 9 o'clock. I need to go and finish editing this book so that I can publish this book. And I don't want this weekend to pass and I don't publish it. I need to move on to begin to write others in the series and prepare your work. Tracy, I will send out tonight into tomorrow. I'll put out you guys homework. All right. This week have been a crazy week for me. I lost my grandmother this week. Don't publish it online because I just keep my personal life private. But I lost my grandmother this week, so this week was kind of one of those weeks for me. But keep your eye on the school. You will get the notification soon. All right, everyone. I thank you very much for your time and for you taking time out of your busy schedule. Thank you, my dear friend Ridley, for being on. I hope that this was helpful to you. My brother, I don't want to mess up your name, but you know, my African friend, blessings and peace to you. Thanks for coming on. From time to time, I will try and do these lives so that I can help as much of you as possible where I can help you sometime with some of these things. All right. Blessings and peace to everyone. Thank you for the thank you, Tracy. Yep. It's been one of those weeks. But we're good. We're good. We're good. All right, thank you very much for your time. Peace. Have a good night. I'm gonna get myself together and get some work in. Blessings and peace to each of you. Thank you again for your time.